Hi everybody, this is Father Moki coming to you from the parish of Good Shepherd Episcopal Church here in Wailuku, Maui. This is the February 18th, 2021 edition of Chicken Chat. Hoping that the rain is going to keep itself at bay while we record. Keep your fingers crossed with us. I'm joined today just by Makani. Marcelino is on Lenten retreat today in my office, which is good because he's made room for a number of the props that I have for you today. What prop is this? How did this get here? I don't want this. Oh, this is terrible. We need to get rid of it right now. Oh my goodness, how awful. Anyway, this week we do have a number of birthdays, and we'd like to say happy birthday to Andrew Yagin, Gavina Dadis. Thank you. You know, I don't want to be competing with chickens for attention. I'm the star of Chicken Chat here. So our birthdays this week are Andrew Yagin, Gavina Dadis, and we have two anniversaries, Melcher and Purificacion Adzwara, and Bo and Kalena Mahoy. Bo and Karen came in on Sunday, which was Valentine's Day, which was their anniversary, and they had asked me if they could come by for a special blessing, and I said of course. And it was really fun because they walked in, and as soon as they walked in, I put on my phone Na Palapalai Kuuipo Kuone. Anyway, that very nice Hawaiian love song, and they were very touched, you know, as they walked down the aisle together. So it was really cool. We do have our memory verse from the Bible for the month of February. I forgot to do it last week. The memory verse is, Jesus told him, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes through the Father except through me. I already got it memorized, didn't even have to look. So I encourage you all to do the same. We do have a number of people on our pastoral care prayer list this morning, so I would like to take a moment of silence to remember everyone on our pastoral care prayer list. Let us pray. Amen. This week, the Ohana Kitchen will be taken care of by Santa Evangelista and her group. Last week, the group from Bear, along with Eugenia Sitz, was here to do the Ohana Kitchen. And today, yesterday, the Cup of Cold Water did make a run for the first time in many weeks, and so very, very grateful for that. They were here on Tuesday, very busily getting the supplies ready to go out and do a run in Wailuku yesterday morning. So very, very grateful for that. And of course, as I mentioned, Ohana Kitchen is up and going, always has been, and the people from the Queen Emma Athletic Club are back and in session here on the church grounds. Also back with us are our acolytes. They came last week Saturday and filmed portions of the service, so you will see the acolytes taking part in the service virtually this week. And the acolytes this week are Matthew and Andrew Yagin. So it was really, really, really nice to have them around and to help out with the virtual service. Of course, for Lent, please bear in mind that on Friday at 12 noon, we will have Stations of the Cross virtually on YouTube and Facebook. On Tuesday, via Zoom, we will have Centering Prayer, where we will read for 20 minutes from the 7 Last Words by Father James Martin, spend 20 minutes in discussion, and then 20 minutes in silent centering prayer. Then on Wednesday, we will have the Anglican Rosary on Facebook Live. The Anglican Rosary looks like this. It's shorter than the typical Roman Rosary, and there are four weeks worth of beads, 7 beads each. And the nice thing about it is there's no set form for how you pray the Anglican Rosary, so you can determine what your prayers are going to be, and I have figured that out and am going to put it on a service booklet that will get out to everyone. So please join us on Facebook Live next week, Wednesday, for the Anglican Rosary. Let's see. Oh, yes, beginning this week, Saturday, we will have in-person worship here in the office courtyard with communion in both kinds. Please come and join us. Then on Sunday, we will have virtual service for the first Sunday in Lent. It's broadcast at 7 o'clock a.m., but you can watch it anytime throughout the day. If the numbers continue to track the way that they are, we should be able to be back in the church on Sunday morning at 9, hopefully before Easter, but I want to wait until we determine if there's going to be a spike from the Super Bowl parties that occurred last week, about a week ago, because I would hate to open up the church again and then have to immediately close it. I think it's better to wait and be patient, and I thank you all for your understanding. You'll notice that the office courtyard looks very, very nice, and that's because Leo and Muro Koluakini came up and cut the grass and got it all cleaned up for the Ash Wednesday service that we had. And so this is a ministry that is important to them and to which they are very, very dedicated, and I really appreciate it. And I love seeing them come up and putting their heart and soul into the work of the church. So it's really, really wonderful. At the Ash Wednesday service, we passed out miniature Lenten gardens. And I'll bring it up closer to the camera so that you can all see. And what it is it's 6 items in the garden: a figure of Jesus, a cross, a plant, a rock, a candle, and sand. And it's meant to be taken home and put out during Lent for people to reflect on the presence of Christ in the desert and the desert wilderness. I got this idea from my classmate Jane Schmetzer, who is now a priest in the Diocese of Spokane, and I asked her if I could take her idea, and she said sure. And I changed things around a little bit. She had an air plant in here, but I decided it would be a nice kind of local touch to put Pele's hair in the garden. And then in the back, I have a picture of the crater of Haleakala, which is, really very desert-like. And so just a way to bring that our experience into our Lenten prayers. So anyway, I'm going to close this, and then we also have a booklet that we made to explain how to pray with these different items. So please be on the lookout for that. Most of these were passed out at the Ash Wednesday Eucharist. We may have a few left over. If anyone would like to procure one, just let me know. I'd like to put out a plea for people to help with counting money that we collect. The requirement is that anytime there's counting of money, that there are 2 people, preferably not people on the church staff, who count. And right now we have 1 person who is very, very dedicated to this ministry, but we would like to expand that circle and invite people to please consider what It is. It's about an hour a week, usually on Monday mornings, unless there's a holiday, then we do it on Tuesday mornings. And then if we have a big pool of counters, we don't have to ask people to come in as often. And actually, it's a good practice to widen the pool of people who count anyway. So if you're willing to do that, please let me know or let Cora know, and we'll let you know when it would be a good time to come in and to lend a hand. This week on our cycle of prayer, we are praying for in the diocese Calvary Kaneohe and their vicar Dustin Berg. Dustin is the husband of the Reverend Heather Hill, who is the rector at St. Clement's. So you may hear them prayed for twice. One says the priest of the church, and one says the spouse of the priest in the church. So we pray for Calvary Kaneohe this week. Also, we have a number of folk in the cycle of prayer. John Henry Newman is the first one. He was one of the founders of the Oxford movement in the late 1800s. Then we have Margaret of Cortona, and she led a rather lavish life until the father of her child had died, and then she decided to become a monastic. It was interesting. She was pregnant with the child, and the father of her child went out hunting, and the dog came back without the husband, and the dog led her to the body of the father of her child. So she went from a very lavish life to a very monastic life, and that's not an easy thing to do. Then we have Eric Liddell. He was a missionary to China, was there in China with his wife and daughters, and then Pearl Harbor got attacked, and he sent his wife and daughters to Canada to spend the wartime there, but he and his brother remained in China and were captured by the Japanese and put in a Japanese prison camp. Having had an auntie and uncle who had the same thing happen to them in the Philippines, they were both mission workers for the Episcopal Church. I have been told what that was like. And then he had an opportunity to leave the camp early, and he said no. He knew of a lady who was pregnant with child, and he gave his spot to her and let her leave the camp. And right after the war, he passed away as a result of being in the camps, the hardships and the malnutrition and all those things. Then we have an early martyr of the church, Polycarp, who we are going to remember this week. And Saint Matthias the Apostle. I'm sure you have heard and remember Saint Matthias. Remember, there were 12 apostles, and then Judas left the crowd. And between the Ascension and the day of Pentecost, the disciples were in the cenacle, and they cast lots to see who would take the place of Judas as the disciple, and Matthias was chosen by lots. Then we have Emily Malborn Morgan. She actually died in 1937. She was from Connecticut, from a very staunch Anglican family, and she was one of the founders of the Society of the Companions of the Holy Cross. Then we have John Roberts, who was a priest in Wyoming, who did a lot of outreach and mission work with the Shoshone and Arapaho tribes in Wyoming. Then Fotini, who in the world is Fotini? Well, Fotini, you know of Jacob's well at Nablus in the Holy Land, and Jesus went to the well and encountered the Samaritan woman. Well, that was Fotini, so now we know her name. And then George Herbert, one of the Caroline divines, he was very, very famous for his poetry, and there was a collection of his poems called The Temple, and one of them is read often in churches and rather iconic, and the lines from that poem say, "Prayer, the church's banquet, angel's age, God's breath in man returning to his birth, the soul in paraphrase, the heart in pilgrimage, the Christian plummet sounding heaven and earth." So very, very, very good piece of poetry to help us enter into a prayerful time of Lent and to help us all have a holy Lent. And finally, everyone, the moment you've all been waiting for, we have the chickens of the week. You'll notice in the background there were, or when I got rid of some of the props, 3 little babies came up. Harriet evidently had some babies, and she originally had 6, and now she's down to 3, and they have persevered. So we named the chickens of the week Larry, Curly, and Mo. Larry, Curly, and Mo, the baby chickens of the week this week, for being persistent, for doing what they need to do to stick around, and for having a very vibrant presence here in the church. So congratulations to you, Larry, Curly, and Mo. We look forward to great things to come from you. And speaking of which, Hallelujah number 2, who is Harriet's older child, is kind of lurking around in the background of the church. And every time he comes to Harriet to get, little bits of food from her, she chases him away. So, it's time for Hallelujah 2 to be off on his own. So we wish him well as he moves into his adulthood. Take care, everybody, and God bless.